Hey all, this digital learning has given me a bit of bedhead. Maybe I should try to run a comb through it or something. Huh? Anyway, so it's midweek time. So here's what we're going to do. Very briefly, I'm going to go over a post that I liked, and we'll talk about what I liked about it, things that we can do to improve it, as well as a comment that I liked, and what we can do to improve it as well. From there, I'm going to attach a poem from one of my favorite poets, just for a bit of encouragement. His name is Billy Collins, and the title of the poem is called Aimless Love. So I'll attach something that's really short. It's just a good pick-me-up for you to kind of peruse. So I hope you enjoy it. And lastly, we'll talk a little bit about your project, but not a whole lot. Okay? All right. Here we go. So this is from last week. Obviously, I posted last week in the midweek check-in as well because I didn't have any other posts to look at. But I'd like to do past posts. That way you're not just copying what students have said as well. Okay, here we go. The Native American culture is expressed through oral tales and stories passed down by generations. They were the indigenous population of the American land before colonization. They focused on farming, religion, love, and survival. Good, it's a really good intro. I think what I would do there is maybe provide a little bit more context and how we talked about in our early lessons about how this spans a very, very, very long time, hundreds if not thousands of years, and also different areas as well. So we want to make sure that we're talking about big groups of people, that we're not painting with too broad a brush. For example, the Navajos have a story called Emergence, which focused on developing and sustaining relations of harmony and balance among the gods, the people, and all other sentient beings. Excellent quote used there. To me, this means that Native Americans practice keeping peace and following the spirits to lead a life of love among all. This reinforces my knowledge of Native Americans. Their life is pure, natural, and based on what I have learned in history. Native Americans were extremely religious and believed in gods to help with health and prosperity among their culture. Excellent. So a good thing to remember when you're writing is that specifics stimulate and generalities bore. So here's a few ways you can be more specific. When you say something like, this reinforces my knowledge of Native Americans, well, what knowledge is it that you have? Can you be more specific there? Their life, and once again, we don't want to be too inclusive. So you say the life of many Native Americans is pure, natural, and based on what I have learned in history. Native Americans were extremely religious. Well, how do you know this? This is a really broad brush. Can you be more specific here? And can you include more text evidence to demonstrate this point? I think that could be more helpful as well. Furthermore, Native American culture, specifically the Navajo's story of emergence, focuses on the importance of relationships. Navajos have significant roles people in their tribe play, such as balance and harmony between husband and wife, reflected the relationship between first man and first woman that is expressed in the emergent story. Excellent use of quotes here. You're blending it really well with your words. And I want you to notice how this student's, the way they're blending their quotes. If you were to close your eyes and I read this passage to you, you wouldn't know where their words end and the quotations begin, and that's excellent. Also, the first man created gender roles in the culture of the natives. They are credited with creating pottery and baskery, two arts of great significance in Navajo culture as women's work. This information shows how important the stories they share among generations truly pass down and continue to live in all traditions. This too proves that the gods they believe in, they live to represent those gods. A little bit of typo there, no big deal. Not only do natives focus on religion, but they do focus on what their job is to keep the tribe alive. Without assigned roles like the arts and necessity of basketry, who would do it? Very good. So this one's really specific. Maybe include those jobs a little bit more here and there, but I like that paragraph a lot. It functions really well. You also bring in your own ideas and thoughts into it. I believe that the Navajo population loves their roles because that is what tradition is. They also listen to the stories passed down and live by that. What stories are you talking about there? Be more specific. In a similar way, people today read the Bible, a book of stories with lessons, ways of life, and tradition led by God. The difference is the Navajos have multiple gods to believe in. However, another similarity is the fact that gods taught creating humankind and provide instruction in matter of life and death, teaching the Din about evil as well as good. Good, and talk maybe a little bit more about how that's separate, how that's distinct. Personally, I love the stories of what we learned in school of Native Americans. What are you talking about there? What stories? It is amazing to me, and maybe use a different word other than amazing. Amazing has kind of been overused to the point that it's a little bit cliche now. That people like them live so long off traditions and purely believing in gods without a government lifestyle. People in the world today need more to believe in to have hope because America today is lacking in that. What do you mean? Can you be more specific? Colonization changed the American land forever, from pure to constructed. Talk about that. What do you mean? So once again, we've got a lot of great ideas, but it leaves me wanting more. Overall, a great post, and especially for the first post, easily an A. But make sure that you're opting to be more specific, so you're unpacking those ideas a little bit more. And here's a comment that I want to discuss as well. I love how you really connected the natives' religious beliefs to the Europeans. Because the Bible and the stories of the natives were so similar, it is crazy to see how different the cultures really are. Both groups focus on life, death, good, and evil. However, they live it out in a different way. Like you said, colonizers saw themselves as mighty and heroic, and they viewed themselves as holy. The natives were quite the opposite of the belief and appreciated the land they lived on and viewed their gods as holy and lived in the purest way possible. Excellent. Same thing as that first one. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by living in the purest way possible? Also, you could be more specific when you say both groups focus on life, death, good, and evil. The Europeans did this through X. The Native Americans did this through Y. So, and once again, don't be afraid to include text evidence into your comment as well. Once again, this comment for week 1 is good. It's easily enough to merit an A, but as we kind of move on throughout the course, it needs to be more complex. Make sure that you're bringing in quotes from those resources from the text to make sure that you're getting as high a grade as possible. Okay, so make sure that you check out that poem that's attached to this email. That way you can get a little bit of encouragement. And also make sure that you have already chosen the author that you want to do for your project and that you're starting to research. So you should have some notes in your computer or on a legal tablet somewhere that are starting to shape up your author project. Okay? Y'all are awesome. I hope you have a great and wonderful week. Chime in on Google Hangouts if you need any help.